Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Through our friends at Glashütte Original, we continue our journey through the 2018 catalog, and today we're discussing the Senator Chronograph Panorama date, a sensational combination of color, character, and complication, the three C's, and as I see it, this is a large watch that wears remarkably well on all wrists. A timepiece 42 millimeters in diameter, and yet from lug to lug across the wrist, my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, you can see that it's 48.9 millimeters, nicely constrained such that you could wear this full-size men's watch on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. It's reasonably slim given the complexity that lurks within. As the timepiece is 15 millimeters thick with a nicely sloped double-stepped bezel, it slides easily underneath a jacket cuff. The lug spacing is 21 millimeters, so it has a broad stance that will allow it to remain planted and resist longitudinal torquing on the wrist. You'll have a bevy of OEM options from Glashütte Original, including a beautiful natural vulcanized rubber strap that allows you to take full advantage of this watch's screw-down crown and 100-meter water resistance. The strap is substantial and handsome. As you can see, it features a cyan light contrasting stitch with a beautiful folded edge, a thick cut profile, substantial in black calfskin. On the underside, calfskin to match, very supple against the skin, and a substantial full steel, double finished, satin and high polish deployant clasp for additional security while donning or removing at bedside. It even features a fixing screw, so once you've sized it properly for your wrist, you can assure absolute security against droppage while donning or removing. You can see the case band is complex and beautiful, with the lugs visibly stepped out from the case flank. You can see the sharp cleft that defines the sculptural form of the lugs as separate from the case, and the contrast afforded by a combination of polish and satin finish throughout. You'll also note the vintage-inspired Lawson-shaped, high-polished chronograph pushers and the classical double-signed Glashütte Original GO crown. Now, the timepiece is complex in its dial layout, but logically arrayed with a handsome bilateral and cruciform symmetry about the layout of the individual indications. Now, it's important to note that the timepiece does feature a matte finish with an AR coating on the crystal to prevent glare and make reading easy at a glance. At 6 o'clock, the namesake, the Panorama datum, or the Panorama date, double digit with flush discs, and you'll note a double, not single, but double stepped aperture to smooth the transition from the plane of the dial down to the discs themselves. All of the printing of the dial is in high contrast cyan blue on black or white on black for instant recognition. Start the chronograph and you'll note, thanks to the vertical clutch architecture, it engages without any jump or stagger. Also, thanks to the vertical clutch, you can simply leave the chronograph running. If you prefer to have hours, minutes, and seconds at center, there's no additional hazard to the watch. The timepiece features a flyback functionality, so you can, by virtue of this caliber 3701, restart and resume timing an event such as two race cars rounding a track and passing the finish line. If the events are occurring in rapid succession, it's best to have the flyback functionality to reset and restart with a single trigger push. You will note, cleverly hidden, there is a power reserve inside the constant second sub-register at 9 o'clock. The watch, with a 70-hour reserve bare minimum, features a graphical display of power remaining. You'll also note 12-hour register for the chronograph seconds at center, and a 30-minute register for the chronograph at 3 o'clock. Turn it all over, and you realize that it's entirely possible that the most intriguing imagery of this watch is on its caseback. First and foremost, this is the modern manufacturer caliber 3701. Automatic winding with a 4 Hz beat rate. It beats away at a modern 28,800 vibrations per hour, what's known as a high beat movement. You'll also note that the system features a beautiful column wheel function selector underneath its winding mass. The column wheel, immediately beneath my hand, with its levers and horns, is the traditional fashion of actuating a chronograph. Crisp, a pleasure to hear, a pleasure to feel. It adds a tactile element that cam chronographs are sorely lacking. You'll also note a unique on-off indicator. To my knowledge, this is the only indication on the case back of a chronograph indicating whether the chronograph is engaged or disengaged. You'll also note elements of finish that are exceptional, including Glashütte stripes across the three-quarter style bridge, evocative of the pocket watch era, the double spiral of the reduction wheel for the winding system, this double spiral achieved by hand finishing. You'll note black polish on the swan's neck style regulator, as well as the cap of the column wheel and the center of the winding mass, black polish being the highest standard of optical finish, so called because at certain angles it appears almost completely black due to the optical quality of the finishing. You'll also note a combination of polished screws. Polished screws are used for adjustment of the mechanism, and blued screws. Blued screws, kiln-fired and heat-oxidized, signify a screw used for assembly of components, that is, fixing components in place. This is important because the watchmaker in Glashütte uses those cues to guide his servicing and assembly of the movement. Regardless of how the watch comes into his care, the screws help to delineate to the watchmaker how the watch is set up, and the display caseback does not compromise in any way the superior water resistance of this timepiece. It has a number of sophisticated features, including a case side pusher adjuster that allows you to rapidly cycle the date, and a hacking or full stop seconds functionality that allows you to halt the time, including the constant seconds, and precisely synchronize the watch to a reference time, such as an online atomic clock. This 65 joule, 5-position adjusted manufacture movement with varnished black manufactured dial is a Glashütte piece from front to back, made entirely within the manufacture. This is a timepiece designed to offer a broad range of capability, from dress attire to water and everything in between. You can see this and the entire collection of Glashütte Original fine timepieces on our website, govbergwatches.com. The Glashütte Original Senator Chronograph Panorama date, a sensational nighttime vision, a Teutonic torch thoughtfully rendered fully luminescent down to the extensively luminescent chronograph seconds hand. See it by the light of day and learn more on our website, govbergwatches.com.